Welcome to a new video in my SAP GUI Scripting series. In this video, I show an example how to download attachments from sales orders. I'm using the Global Object Services to access the attachment list. Since this list is available in many objects in ERP other than sales orders, this script can be easily modified to download attachment for example, invoices, POs, and so on. There will be another video in which I do attachment download via the Business Document Navigator. If you are new to GUI scripting, I recommend watching my first video in this series, which explains the basics of GUI scripting and addresses some common issues. The Excel file that I'm showing in this video is available for download, and you can find the link in the video description. So let's get started. The order numbers are listed in the documents in column A from line 10 and onwards. So here you just list the order numbers. I'm using a test system, so I just have a few orders with really low numbers. In the status column, you indicate which orders you want to process by setting the status to 0, and this status will get updated by the system as the processing completes or fails. The number of the documents which are queued for processing is shown in cell A8, which is basically getting updated by a COUNTIF value. Before running the script, you need to set the system you want to connect to. So you do this in B6 with the SID and the client and the folder where the documents needs to be extracted. And again, this folder needs to be created before you run the script. So again, list your order numbers, set the status to 0 for them to be processed. And next thing is you need to do is click on the extract data button. I'm already logged into SAP, and as you can see, scripting is enabled in my GUI and in the system. So the last thing to do is set the extract data button. And now if I minimize, or if I bring this one, and you can see that it's happening very, very fast, and the system is opening the first document and the second and downloading the attachments. At the end, I will get this message from Excel saying that the scripting completed, and now you can see that on the folder, which is the /temp, I have two subfolders created, 1 and 2, and each of them contain the attachment from the sales order. As I said here in this document as well, the system is capable of distinguishing between attachments that are created via the let me just bring the volume down. Created via the Global Object Services or the Business Document Navigator. So even when you are here, I mean, this is created in the Business Document Navigator. So if I click on the export button, then nothing happens. This is why it only managed to download, this single attachment, which was created in Global Object Services. Anyway, the code is able to differentiate between the two and able to handle the fact that some attachment cannot be downloaded, so it doesn't fail. Going back to the document, if you click on the log, you can see that the script keeps a log of everything that happened in the execution. So that is trying to save an attachment which is called the attachment, and it cannot do that, but then there was another attachment which was successfully downloaded, and whenever it navigates to a particular document, like sales order 1 and 2. To understand what the code does, I was thinking about doing a sample recording so we can see what Excel is creating for us. So let me just set up the recording. So I want to create documents. Okay, so I've created a few already. Okay, so I'm setting the recording now. So first I access the VA03 to open an order. I'm selecting my document, and I go into the attachment list, and I'm going to download this last attachment, and here I'm setting the folder, and I usually don't change anything on the file name, and I click replace just to make sure that if the file already exists, then the GUI can override that. And once you do that, you just come out of the transaction, so you are back in VA0, or sorry, come out from the attachment list and you are back in VA03. So I'm going to stop the scripting here, and then let's look at the code which is generated by SAP. Sorry, back to the code. As previously, we can ignore this beginning part of it. It's just only about setting up the object. Next thing is maximize the window, call the transaction VA03, press enter. This is to go in. This is where I put the order number in. So you say VBAK VBELN.text equals 1. And this is again, I press enter and I call the global object services. I click on view attachments. And this is where I actually select the third line. So select rows 2. So it's a 0 indexed list. And I click on this export button. And in the pop-up window, I'm setting the path. And I'm clicking on, well, I'm not sure what this line is, but anyway, in this last one, I'm clicking the OK button. And I think in this one, once it is successfully downloaded, I'm clicking on the close button. And that's again, the last two lines are about back in VO03 setting some fields to focus, but we can ignore that. So the script itself is really, really simple. The only thing is now when we do it programmatically, we just need to find out how many lines are actually in this container, which corresponds to the attachment list. Call them one by one, and for each of them execute this command. So let's go into Excel and let's see how it looks like. So I'm back in the Excel. I'm pressing F11, sorry, Alt F11 to bring up the code. Just to recap from the previous documents, you need to SAP GUI Scripting, add it to your references, which is in program files, SAP Frontend, SAP GUI, and SAP fewse.ocx. So in the beginning, I'm setting some global variables, nothing special about this. And the first function I have is the attach session, which is going to go through your open SAP GUI sessions and is trying to find the first one which has the same system and client what you have specified in the Excel in here. And once it finds, then it's going to attach to that session. And if nothing is found, then it will just give you a few error messages. And run GUI script is the main, oh, sorry, not this run GUI script. So when you execute the, click on the button, then it calls the start extract method in the, or sub in here, which is a little bit further down. But before I go into the start extract, I'm just going to explain some of the other functions that I've created here, which I'm not going to go into details of, but basically I have a reset log which is going to reset, delete all these lines in the log. And the next one, which is the add log, is basically going to add a line into this log file. So anytime something happens, I call this add log. Here I give an ID, the message, and I also give a color. So this is how I can control whether something appears in black or red. And the code looks a little bit too complicated, but actually it's really, really simple. Most of what this code does is adding a nice border to these new lines, because all the new lines are empty, such as this one. Okay, so that's all about the logging functionality. Let's go back to start extract, which is our main, that's our start point for the whole logic. So first we are just going to set some defaults. So we will get the W system, W_system, which we are going to use throughout the program to store our client and ID. And by the way, this is a feature in Excel which I find out recently. Normally you click on the cell and then Excel gives you this C4, but so this is like, you know, B6. So if I click on the field, it shows B6, but if I let it go, it actually shows system. So you can go into any fields, and when you click here, you can rename the field cell from this, you know, column row kind of name to any specific name. So I put this, I set this as system, I set this other one as folder, and I set this one as, oh, I just left it as time, sorry, B2. But what this does is that in the code, instead of remembering the field, you can use this expression, which is range, and then the name dot value, which is going to give you the value of that cell. So you don't have to remember whether it's like B6 or C6 or whatever. Anyway, so we got the system ID. We set some variables which are going to use later. We are going to reset the logs, so clear all the previous logs. And here, similar to all my examples, I'm looping through these cells starting from line 10, and I'm checking whether there is any order number or any value specified in these lines or in these cells. And this is how I know how much data I need to process. So I'm checking whether the column 1, which is the order number in this case, has any value, and then I'm also checking whether it has the status 0, which is to be processed. And if that is true, I'm calling this run GUI script with the current line ID to execute that process for the particular order in our case. And the run GUI script, so this is the that's the sub or the function which executes the actual GUI script logic. First is just checking whether we have attached a session, and then we are setting some more variables here. So we will get the document number. We store it in a local variable, so which is going to be like in 1 or 2, and we also get the folder ID. And then we start executing the script which was created by SAP. So if I put this one side by side, you can see it's pretty much the same. So we do the maximize the VA01, and here in the where my script says text equals 1, I've replaced that to doc number because now we don't want a fixed value, we always want the document number. Again, just a recap from the previous session, previous videos. When SAP has created this script, it used the variable for the variable name for this session is called session, but for in my code it's called object session or obj sesh. So if you're copying and pasting a script over from here, always remember to replace session with this session. So once we have the document open in VO03, we execute these two commands, which basically opens the global object services and displays the view, sorry, the attachment list. Next one, if you want, by standard, as the code written, the script is going to create a folder for every single order, where the folder name is the order number, and it will place the documents in those folders, or save the documents in those folders. If you don't want that, because you want all the documents to be created in the same folder, then you need to uncomment these two lines, because all it does is just adds the folder, to the folder name, it adds the document number, and it calls this function, which is create folder to actually create that folder. And next, I'm executing this command. So we have that list container which contains the attachments. Again, if I go back to my script, the recorded script, you can see exactly the same line here. So find by ID, and then this long string, and then you have the comments which corresponds to actions that are happening in the list. So what I'm doing is I'm saving this as a local variable, and there are a couple of standard functions how you can loop through the items in this list. So this is what I'm doing here in this for next cycle, or for next cycle. So I'm looping through the items, and I'm executing pretty much the same commands as here. So you see set current cell, and well, okay, I'm not using exactly the same, but for every single item, I'm selecting that current row, and I'm selecting the cell in that row, which is like the first cell, and I'm issuing adding an item to the log, just to say that I'm trying to save the attachment, and I'm using this command to get the attachment name, what we see here. So it's basically the second column, which is the title, and I click on the export button. And as I said, I needed a way to find out if the attachment can be downloaded or not, and the only way I managed to do that is I'm checking if the active window is called the SAP GUI Grid View 1, because if the save pop-up window appeared, then that's no longer true. So this is how I know that I'm actually saving something. So if after clicking on the export button I'm still getting this same grid view, I know that the document failed for whatever reason. So that is this scenario. So you see a message is issued, but the screen itself, the active window, doesn't change. So in that case, I'm just adding a log with the red color saying that, okay, we haven't managed to download this attachment. Otherwise, I'm executing with the rest of the code, which you can see in the recording as well. So it's pretty much this one, or actually this one. So setting the text for the path, selecting it, and then clicking a button. So same 3 or 4 lines of code. What I'm doing here is first I'm saving the file name what SAP defaults, which is the same as the attachment name, and here I am putting a docno plus underscore file name. So what this does is when the file is getting saved, it's actually getting prefixed with the document number. So if you don't want that, you just need to uncomment these 2 lines here, and then the file name would be the same as the original file name. And then finally, I provide a message which says that the attachment was saved. And once I've processed all the lines in the document, it is really, really important that we issue this command, because this command closes the this attachment list. Because if we are processing more than one order at the same time, the first message we are going to issue is the /NVA03, and if you are in the attachment list, you can't enter another T code, so you need to be out of that in order to basically have this field visible or active on the screen to enter VA03 again. Going back to the code, the only thing we are doing here is we are setting the status to completed, which is 1, and we exit. And these few lines of code here is error handling. So if anything happens in this logic, so for example the document number doesn't exist, or let's say you don't have access to open that document, then the code executes here, which just sets the status to failed. So basically does that, which sets the status to failed. So it's again just a visual indication back what got processed successfully and whatnot. And that's pretty much it. I mean, as I said, there are a few more functions here, which is the folder create and the folder exist, which creates the subfolders per document, if that is enabled or if it's not commented out here. But that's pretty much what the code does. At last, I just want to emphasize again what I said in the beginning of the document. So global object services and the attachment list is available for many different business objects or business documents in ERP. And the screen which is used in those documents are pretty much the same. I mean, you access them in the same way. You click on the global object services and you click on attachment list, and that's pretty much reflected in the code as well, because this piece of code here is responsible for going into a transaction, opening a document, and then calling the attachment list. So if you have a different document, like, I don't know, a delivery note or a purchase order or an invoice, then record a script how you go into the transaction, how you open the document, and how you navigate into the attachment list. Put this code in here. Of course, remember to check to replace the document number which will be like a fixed value in the recording. Replace it with docno, document number, which is the local variable used here. And you should be able to reuse this code for any other document type. I hope you find this video useful and you managed to suit it for your particular needs. Thanks for watching, and hopefully see you in the next video.